Dramatic aerial of Buckingham Palace under gathering storm clouds, ominous and foreboding. Empty, ornate palace corridor with dramatic shadows and moody lighting, implying internal conflict. The Regency was meant to bring stability. It did the opposite. The internal wars at Buckingham Palace have become so toxic, so damaging to the nation, that the royal family has been pushed to the brink. Tonight, they have chosen a solution so radical it was once thought impossible. Bold red live graphic with "Address to the Nation" over royal backdrop, dramatic lighting. It began with a rumor, a whisper in the corridors of power that quickly became a roar on the nation's front pages. For weeks, speculation had swirled around the health of King Charles III. His public appearances grew infrequent, his demeanor frail. The palace remained silent, a strategy that only fueled the growing sense of unease. Then, with just 2 hours' notice, the announcement came. The king would address the nation, live. At 8 p.m., a hush fell over the United Kingdom. In pubs, living rooms, and city squares, all eyes turned to their screens. The image was stark. The king, seated alone at a grand mahogany desk, the weight of his office etched onto his face. This was not a festive message or a routine announcement. This was history, raw and unfolding, and the nation held its breath.
My dear people, I came to the throne to serve, to uphold the traditions that have defined our great nation for a millennium. But I've always believed that the crown must not only represent our history, but also serve our future. The challenges we face today are profound, requiring a vigor and a long-term perspective that my own years can no longer promise. Therefore, after a period of deep reflection, I have made a decision that I believe is in the best interest of the realm. I will abdicate the throne.
A seismic event. But it was the words that came next that would shatter 1,000 years of history.
And after deep consultation with my heir and the government, it has been decided that in this unprecedented moment, the crown will not pass to my beloved son, the Prince of Wales. William has served this country with unwavering devotion, a devotion I know he will continue to show. However, we have decided together that the stability of the nation requires a different path. The crown will therefore pass directly to his wife, the Princess of Wales. She will reign as Queen Catherine I.
Silence. A stunned, deafening silence that lasted for a heartbeat before erupting into chaos. Queen Catherine I. The words seemed impossible, a fiction torn from a novelist's imagination. The line of succession, a sacred, unbroken chain stretching back centuries, had not just been bent, it had been snapped in two. The Act of Settlement of 1701, the very legal bedrock of the modern monarchy, had been cast aside in a single, televised sentence. Across the world, newsrooms scrambled. Breaking news banners flashed in every language. Was this a palace coup? A constitutional revolution? Or a desperate gamble to save a flagging institution? In London, the phones of government ministers and constitutional lawyers began to ring incessantly. Parliament would have to be recalled. Legal scholars, blinking in the glare of studio lights, struggled to find precedent where none existed. They spoke of royal prerogative, of parliamentary sovereignty, and of a looming crisis the likes of which Britain had not seen in centuries. The nation held its breath. For days, rumours had swirled through the corridors of Whitehall and the newsrooms of Fleet Street. An abdication was coming. King Charles III, after a reign both brief and tumultuous, was preparing to lay down the burden of the crown. The expectation was universal. The throne would pass, as it had for 1,000 years, to the next in line, the Prince of Wales. But as the king prepared to address the nation and the world, the weight on his shoulders was not just that of his own reign, but of a decision that would rewrite history itself. What was about to be said would go far beyond a simple abdication. It was an act of constitutional revolution.
My dear people of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth, I came to the throne to serve, to uphold the traditions that have defined us, but also to ensure the monarchy's survival in a rapidly changing world. That has been my solemn duty. It is a duty that now requires me to make the most difficult of decisions. Therefore, after deep and often painful consultation with my heir and the government, it has been decided that in this unprecedented moment, the crown will not pass to my beloved son, the Prince of Wales. We believe the challenges of the 21st century demand a different kind of leadership, a unique strength that can connect with the people in a way that secures our future. For this reason, the line of succession will be altered. The crown will pass directly to his wife, the Princess of Wales. She will reign as Queen Catherine I.
Silence, then chaos. A constitutional atom bomb had just been detonated in the heart of the British establishment. The king had not just abdicated, he had broken the sacred line of succession, a chain of primogeniture stretching back to the Norman conquest. He had bypassed his own son, the direct heir by blood, a man trained from birth for this singular role, and handed the crown to his daughter-in-law. The Act of Settlement of 1701, the very legal bedrock of the modern monarchy, was shattered. In newsrooms, seasoned anchors were speechless. On the floor of the London Stock Exchange, the pound nosedived as traders stared in disbelief. The stability of the nation was suddenly in question. In the House of Commons uproar, the Prime Minister, who the King claimed had been consulted, was now facing a political firestorm. How could the government sanction such a move? Was it even legal? Constitutional scholars were dragged from their university offices onto television screens, their faces grim. They spoke of a constitutional black hole. Could a monarch simply choose their successor? Did this require an act of parliament? And if so, could it even be passed? The government was paralyzed, the opposition sensed an opportunity, and the very fabric of the United Kingdom's unwritten constitution was tearing at the seams. And at the heart of it all, a family torn asunder. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, the man who was meant to be King William V. He stood by his father's side during the announcement, a mask of regal duty firmly in place. But the world wondered, was this an act of selfless sacrifice for the good of the institution, or the ultimate betrayal by a father? Had he willingly stepped aside, or had he been pushed? And then there was Catherine, the princess who had captured the public's heart, now thrust into a role she never auditioned for. Not queen consort, the supportive wife of a king, but queen regnant, the sovereign, a commoner by birth, now tasked with saving a 1,000-year-old dynasty from the actions of its own king. The shockwaves radiated across the globe. From Washington to Canberra, leaders of the Commonwealth realms, for whom the British monarch is also head of state, were left scrambling. They had not been consulted. Did they now have a new queen? Or was this the moment the Commonwealth itself would fracture? The United Kingdom, and the world, was in a state of profound shock. The monarchy, an institution defined by its predictability, had just delivered the most unthinkable twist in its long and storied history. The age of Charles was over. The age of Catherine was about to begin, born from a crisis that threatened to consume the very crown she was now set to wear. Royal historian urgently explains the unprecedented succession twist beside a bewildered anchor. So how is this even possible? Royal experts are pointing to a newly unearthed and highly controversial interpretation of a lost clause in the Act of Settlement. Extreme close-up macro of specific clause text being highlighted on the ancient document. It allegedly allows the monarch, with the consent of the direct heir and parliament in a time of great peril, to alter the succession to ensure national stability. The government has declared the current infighting a great peril, giving the king the legal cover for this revolutionary move. As the constitutional crisis reached a fever pitch, all eyes turned to the one man whose birthright had prepared him for this moment, the Prince of Wales. The weight of 1,000 years of tradition and expectation rested squarely on his shoulders. He was the next link in an unbroken chain. Would he uphold the sacred line of succession, a cornerstone of the British monarchy, or would he choose a different, more radical path? The world didn't have to wait long. Just moments after the regency was confirmed, a statement was issued from Kensington Palace, bearing the Prince of Wales's crest. It was a document that would tear up the royal rulebook. The statement, read by a palace spokesperson but written in William's own unmistakable voice, was a bombshell. It began not with defiance, but with a profound reinterpretation of duty. My primary duty, it read, has never been to myself, but to the stability of the crown and the future of my family. This duty compels me to look beyond the established order and consider what is truly best for the United Kingdom in this new era. The text then pivoted, becoming a powerful tribute. For years, I have had the unique privilege of standing beside my wife, Catherine. I have seen firsthand not just her wisdom and strength, but her profound empathy, her unwavering resilience under immense pressure, and her innate ability to connect with people from every walk of life. She has served the crown with grace, earning the trust and affection of the nation. The declaration continued, building its case with methodical precision, as if addressing palace traditionalists head-on. The monarchy cannot be a static institution, frozen in time. It must evolve and be led by the person best equipped for the challenges ahead, regardless of the old rules of succession. I do not say this lightly, but with the deepest conviction. I believe Catherine is the leader this nation and this monarchy needs to navigate the complexities of the 21st century. She represents not a break from tradition, but its most promising evolution, a bridge between the institution's storied past and its necessary future. And then came the sentence that would echo through history. I have therefore, after extensive consultation, taken the unprecedented step to renounce my claim to the throne. Furthermore, I renounce the claim on behalf of our children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, in her favor. The statement sent shockwaves through the political establishment. This was a constitutional revolution, an act that would require Parliament to rewrite the Act of Settlement. But William's declaration was not finished. It ended with a powerful personal pledge that redefined his own future. I will not be stepping away from public life. Instead, I will find my greatest honor in a new role. As my wife's principal supporter and subject, I will be the first to kneel and pledge my allegiance to my wife, my sovereign, and my queen. The old guard is calling it a coup. Massive, joyful crowds flooding streets, waving flags and celebrating spontaneously. But the people are calling her their queen. Enormous crowds gathered outside Buckingham Palace, chanting and celebrating. In a stunning turn, the public's overwhelming support for Catherine is legitimizing the most controversial royal act in history. The woman who was once a commoner is now the undisputed monarch. King Charles has abdicated. 1,000 years of tradition have been broken. The modern world has its first queen by choice, not by bloodline. Is this the end of the British monarchy as we know it? Or the dawn of a new and perhaps even more glorious Catherinian age? Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.